What made you decide to do 10 beds, 10 baths? Like, why not less or why not more?
A certain point, though, that we don't want to cross where it would actually be diminishing returns. And so we found 10 to be like that sweet spot.
You're now tuned in to the off-market mindset, where real estate gets real.
Hey guys, welcome to the Off-Market Mindset. My name is Michael Riordan. I'm your host here today, and I'm joined by Dustin Geroski. There's something really unique about him, and he's doing a co-living strategy that nobody else is doing, basically taking the co-living to the next level with new construction. He has 9 properties currently, and he's continuing to expand his portfolio. He does have some partners that he'll talk about as well and how they've structured their business. Yeah, man. I mean, is there anything that I missed or anything else that you want to get out to the world or?
No. I mean, we have 9 co-living properties. We have a couple of regular rentals as well, but very focused on co-living. We own some in Florida, Georgia, and Texas.
Nice, man. That's actually all locations that I focus on as well. So we need to talk after this. Let me ask you this. I mean, because obviously there's a lot of people in the co-living space. What was it that made you decide to focus on new construction co-living versus like the traditional route where you purchase a home and renovate it?
There's a couple of reasons. When we taught the semesters and set us up to earlier in the year, we were flooded with deal flow, but we started noticing patterns. Essentially, if we wanted to build this massive Mount Everest, we had to identify the main risks. And so this is just our opinion, my opinion. You can ask 10 people, get 30 answers. The big thing that we liked about the new construction is in Texas, specifically Houston, the zoning, there isn't really any. The biggest problem, like if something goes wrong with a co-living, is the city or the county. Typically a neighbor has complained, usually due to parking. The dominoes start falling. That's the first. And worst case scenario, the county cracks down on you because in a lot of places, there's only so many unrelated people that can live under one roof. That does not exist in Houston. So from a pure risk profile perspective, we really, really like that. Also, though, the new construction, we really liked that, everyone has their own bathroom.
Oh, wow.
We figured, so 10 beds, 10 baths, 1 main kitchen, 2 kitchenettes. So there's a lot of, whatever you want to call it, the feng shui of the whole house is way different than your normal co-living where it's like 8 people, 3 baths or something like that. So just a whole list of reasons why we liked it. And we're like, all right, this is all we're going to do.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%. I mean, if you think about it from a longevity standpoint, if you've got like 10 people sharing 3 bathrooms or 10 people having their own bathroom, and when you look at the price of cost of living and stuff nowadays, if they're comfortable there, why would they leave? Right. And when you look at the average person in the world, most people, they like being just comfortable. And as long as they're comfortable, they're okay with being where they are. I mean, I totally see that. And I think that's amazing, actually. What was like the aha moment when you were getting all this deal flow and you started noticing these patterns and stuff like that? Like, what were the things that you started noticing that made you decide to, go that route? And, how did you even come up with thinking about that in the first place?
It was a blend because we knew we wanted to raise capital for all the deals that we buy. That's like what we had already been doing. But from a pure scalability perspective, we're like, all right, what's the most responsible way that we can buy at scale? I'm not saying that other things are wrong. It's just what we felt from a risk tolerance was what we, were comfortable with sleeping at night. I mean, there's plenty of teams and people that have massive co-living portfolios that are, in other parts of the country where the zoning is, more strict, and that's perfectly fine. There's other guidelines that can help mitigate that, like no HOA, stuff like that. But essentially, when we were interviewing many contractors, we had been introduced to the concept, but we found contractors that were trying to pitch it to us. We didn't trust them, basically. They couldn't give us like an itemized bill, basically. We're like, hey, we don't even need to know the total cost of the 2x4s, like nothing crazy. We just need to know how much the actual project will cost. like, how much money do you need? And they were all very vague and gray, ambiguous. And we're like, oh, it could be this, it might be this. And so eventually we found a contractor that had been already building this model, and he could show us very black and white, hey, these are the ones I've done already. This is how much it'll cost if you want this exact model at this address. And so then we, flew out, met him, looked at different projects, and yeah, went from there.
That's pretty cool, man. And yeah, totally. I mean, at the end of the day, imagine like you're asking, somebody about, let's say you for your co-living, right? And you're like, oh, well, I have this property I want to send you. And, how do I know what's a good deal? And you're like, oh, well, just send me a property. And it's like, yeah, it's got to have like 5 bedrooms. Oh, well, what else? Like, if you don't know what you're looking for, then how can you help other people and how can they take you serious? So when you go to the contractor and you say, hey, if you're doing these types of deals, like, what do I need to pay you? And why am I paying you this? Right. And they can't even give that to you. And that goes to the risk. And I think the biggest risk is in co-living or real estate in general is finding a good contractor. And there's so many stories of people hiring contractors. They walk away with their money. They do a bad job. It's not up to code. They're failing inspections and all that other stuff. So I guess for you, aside from like asking specific questions about like the itemized breakdowns and how much it's going to cost, like, do you have like a checklist that you go off of when you're looking for contractors? Or
the main thing that we really focus on is how they're paid. A lot of contractors, they're going to want everything up front or 50% up front, just crazy things. We just don't do that at all. There's a couple contractors we work with, and it's slightly different on each one. Best case scenario, we are buying the materials and they're picking it up. So it's very clear how much the materials versus labor costs. And then we're only doing incremental draws. So ideally, you're the one always with the leverage. It's like if you front the materials and they, do some work, it's inspected and then they're paid on the labor side. So we're very meticulous on how that dynamic is. It does, a lot of contractors just won't even work with that. It's a whole trust game because they don't want to get screwed as well. And so that's how we do it. It's definitely not the most common, but it is the safest in our opinion, where you're protecting your money and your asset.
Okay. And I know you said kind of like, it is like a trust on both sides type of thing. Like, how would you go about finding somebody like this? Like, for anybody that's listening and they want to find a contractor, how would you find somebody that would be willing to, do something like that?
I think that it's definitely gonna be way more common on like rehabs, or if you're buying a sub 2 deal, converting them. But basically it would just be, the easiest is talking through PadSplit, finding contractors they already work with, some sort of credibility. And then after that, it's, hopping on a call and saying, hey, this is how I'm comfortable moving forward. Like we can purchase any materials at Home Depot, Lowe's. We'll pay for it on our card. And there's a couple ways you could do it: online, over the phone with Home Depot.
Yeah.
And then they pick it up and they take it. That's our preferred way. Sometimes they'll buy it like if it's on the fly, like a Friday night, and they, they're just trying to finish before the weekend. Sometimes they'll buy the material and then they'll send us the receipt, reimburse them. But basically just explaining that dynamic, like, hey, we're paying for the materials, or no labor is paid for until the inspections, like draws are made. Maybe if it's a $50,000 job, all at $20K is material, $30K labor, just arbitrary numbers. You're the one paying that $20K, and then maybe you're doing 4 draws is what they call it. So it's like 4 phases of work. Let's say the first phase is you're throwing up 2x4s throughout the house and some, rudimentary electric, because they're going to need money, to pay their bills and stuff. They have families. So it'd be like just 4 phases. You're checking it. Everyone's satisfied. Then they're getting paid on the labor that's completed.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I like that strategy. I think that's pretty efficient and it's fair because, as an example, like my mother, she got taken by a contractor. She paid him $25,000 and he promised her, oh, well, we'll get your upstairs bathroom done and, we'll give you like the best kitchen and blah, blah. And then she signed with him, but there was something in the contract with pricing if they wanted to based on cost of materials. So he ended up not doing her bathroom, even though he promised her he would. So what happened there is now she had a bathroom that was undone. The kitchen got finished, but she got screwed out of that. I can see where buying the materials that gets rid of that risk there, because he never would have been able to do that, right? And then it's just, hey, I've got the materials and I just need you to do the work. What is your cost of labor? So then I like that. I think that's very smart. So not something I thought of. So that's why I love doing these meetings, because I've learned so much. But
that's how I was taught. Like people way more experienced than myself, like our project manager and the different friends I've met, they all do it like that. The ones that are consistently winning that I know, that have been doing it for years and years, that's how every single one of them does it.
Nice, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing that for sure. So let's talk about risk again. I know you said that like you're in the Georgia and Florida and Texas markets, and I know Texas is the least risky, but what was your risk analysis on those areas that made you decide to choose just those three areas mainly?
I'm in Florida, and that's where I started. It was easiest to start local. And then, because I'm east of Orlando, I'm below Jacksonville. And so we have a couple properties in Orlando, Kissimmee, Tampa, Port Orange, New Smyrna. And so just from being able to actively check things if needed, that's where we started. As long as you're not doing things in like brand new subdivisions, definitely no HOA, and you're being smart about parking, you could typically fly under the radar. Like we have properties like that. It always really boils down to parking. Just don't piss off your neighbors and you're going to be fine. That's like the rule of thumb that we've seen. Just don't make the neighbors mad. You're good. And so next up, we went to Georgia. Atlanta is essentially like the headquarters unofficially of Pad Split. Like I think it's still their biggest market. If not, it's like top 3.
That's where they started, right?
Yeah.
It was Atlanta. Okay.
And so we felt comfortable there. I mean, it's established, like the city and county are very aware of what's going on. I think I have a couple friends doing like new builds, but they're smaller, like 6 bed, 6 bath there. And then after that though, we started, consistently raising capital like monthly. And we're like, all right, what's the most ethical, responsible way we can do this? And it's a lot of people's hard-earned money, 401ks, IRAs, all that stuff. And so that's what brought us to Houston. Is like, all right, we need to eliminate as much risk as we can. And I think Houston's like the third largest ad split market. So it checked a lot of boxes for us.
Nice. Okay. And I actually learned something in one of the owners club's meetings that one of the best areas for pad split in the state of Florida is over by Tampa, St. Pete area and stuff like that. It's funny that you're in my market. Actually, I live in Kissimmee. If you're familiar with St. Cloud. Yeah. So I'm out here in St. Cloud. So that's why I kind of chose the same markets, just like you said, more just Atlanta, just because it started there, Orlando and like surrounding areas here in the state of Florida. And then Texas, I actually have 4 properties out in Texas with Manatsakanian. So I partnered with him out there, and we've got 4 properties out there through his what's called fractional. So that's pretty cool, man. Okay. I guess if you had to say, like, as far as I know, you mentioned something about like you have other people doing smaller builds and stuff. What made you decide to do 10 beds, 10 baths? Like, why not less or why not more?
I would say a couple reasons. So like my background is finance. So I like to look at things from that lens when I can. And so like economies of scale applicable to a lot of different businesses. And all that really means is like the more you can increase your numbers, it's easier to cover like your fixed costs, efficiencies start kicking in, just unique attributes that may not apply until you hit a certain number. So for us, like the most common, pretty much all the deals we see, sub 2, solar finance, anything, your baseline mortgage is going to be like $2,000 to $3,000, if not higher. And then pad split fees, utilities and all that. So what we found is no matter our smallest co-living is 8 beds, but what we found is if we can, jump it to, we have 1 9-bed property. We have multiple 10-bed properties. And what we found is the margin did jump noticeably more. There's, a certain point though that we don't want to cross where it would actually be diminishing returns. And so we found 10 to be like that sweet spot, especially when we factored in everyone gets their own bathroom. So in general, it's like the happy medium of everything that we could find.
That makes sense. It's funny enough, but my AC, I've been having issues with the AC. And I read something on like the charging of the Freon in the system or the refrigerant. It said if you have too much, your AC won't cool. If you have too little, your AC won't cool. So it's got to be like just at the right spot. So a funny comparison, but I mean, it's weird the way I can see this.
It's like water. Like if you drink too much water, I mean, technically you'll get sick.
Oh yeah,
Your
water
athletes.
sickening, water poisoning.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
That's
truth.
what we found. We found that this model, in terms of ROI, how much equity we had to give away, when we bring on partners, we really like to focus on cash, not so much ROI, because that can be, I don't know, it doesn't apply to most people, but the cash on cash is attractive, and we can give, typically ours are like 7.5%, 8% cash on cash, and that's factoring in maintenance, utilities, vacancy, like all the blind items that can influence the revenue.
Got you. Well, that's cool, man. And I guess this is so helpful. I'm learning so much. So thank you for the unregistered semesters class here. But
Yeah.
obviously you're not doing this by yourself, right? You have different mentalities, right? So you've got like the employee mentality and an entrepreneur mentality, and you've got people that think they can do everything on their own, and it ends up stunting their growth, right? And then there's some people, they just do too much, right? But like for you, what made you decide to, start looking for help and people to partner with and stuff to, grow your business?
So, I mean, we're both in Owners Club, so we always look at things from that lens, like how do we own things and not just be employees of them. I joined the first year when it started, so I've been trying to look at things from that for, a year and a half now, like very purposely. And so I was already doing well in wholesale as I was incrementally buying co-living. January is when Tracy, Kaipo, and I combined forces. We're all in Owners Club as well. And so essentially what we saw is we all had different skill sets. But when we combined, it wasn't 1 + 1 + 1 is 3. It turns into 1 + 1 + 1 is 10 or 20. And so like, for example, like myself, with my background, like I'm the underwriter. I also do the marketing as well. Kaipo, though, he is very systems. Like, I mean, that guy has down to the minute his calendar every single day.
Yeah.
He's built a massive business in Hawaii and completely scaled out of it. He's kind of like a hybrid. He's visionary integrator. I'm visionary integrator. I'm more visionary. Tracy's definitely visionary. In our group, though, we're like, all right, if we're going to do this, how do we pull this off? And we're like, we're going to need help. And so we're actually going to Phoenix this week to meet with our business coach to dial in our org chart. But yeah, we have an amazing team. The keystone is our operator. Her name's Emily. And she, like on our org chart, if we hallucinate together for a second, it's Tracy, Kaipo, and I up top. Below is our integrator/operator. Her name's Emily. And then we have multiple people underneath her that all report directly to her. That includes like project manager. We do have a lending manager who's always talking to hard money, finding credit sponsors, that kind of stuff. We have an accountant. We decided from the get-go, we're like, all right, if we do this, we're just building the team organically, but immediately.
Are these employees? Are they partners? Like how is your structure built out?
2 of us are partners, and then the others, they'll get some equity on the deal. Like we do have a main business. Tracy, Kaipo, and I own together. It's Taco Viva. And then other than that, there's people that do, like we have someone from marketing, fractional CFO, asset manager, and they're not in our core company, but they do get a little percent equity on each deal that they're helping us acquire.
And the reason I asked that question is for everybody think, they needed a whole bunch of money and they have to pay a bunch of people and stuff like that in order to, get to this point. Like that's one of the cool things about Owners Club is now you're a year and a half later, you've got a full blown business. I just joined Owners Club in April and I've already got a whole business structure put out. I'm doing deals, and just recently with Pace's Bird Dog Challenge, Pace kind of forced me to start like a little bird dog business on the side because I had so many people reaching out to me. And I was like, well, how can I utilize this opportunity to help me grow? I've got 3 underwriters now. It's me. I've got a partner. With all the structure that I've got now, I've got a social media manager and a VA. The only person I'm paying for my VA. Everybody else, they're getting a part of the deals that come in. So if you're thinking like you need all this thought out and you have to have everything together, you don't, right? You just have to have the right relationships. And like you were saying, you're like a visionary, and the Kai is a integrate visionary, and Tracy is like a little bit, she's very visionary, you said, right? So you're using all of your talents combined to, build your empire. And then you've got everybody else under you that knows all their skills, right? So, because going to trying to do this on your own, there's nobody You can underwrite properties, make offers on property, manage all the properties, get all the contracting together, find leads, deal with bird dogs and TCs and all these other things that are involved. If you think you could do that by yourself, you're crazy. How do you guys manage to make it work? Because you hear all these stories all the time of people, they get into partnerships and they fail and, it's like the worst thing they ever did and blah, blah, blah. Obviously, you guys are successful at it. So what do you think attributes to that?
I say a blend. It's never about one person. We try to keep it pretty team focused. We've all had different experiences with partnerships already, so that helped too. We've all had multiple partnerships leading up to this, so we're a lot more cautious leading into it. But we do a lot of voting together. We definitely don't always agree on things. If anything, we're disagreeing on something daily. That's the whole reason that partners exist. It's because I see something, but Hypo or Tracy sees it completely different. And so that's the value add is there's probably a middle ground that neither of us see until we both butt heads a little bit. So that's where we've actually found the magic. It is that mastermind effect where it's in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill talks about when two or more minds come together, it's the equivalent of actually three. And so that's what we found is, and we're getting better at it. It's identifying who is in charge of what and truly documenting it. And then that way people can be held accountable, or it's not even holding people accountable. It's often a confusion of, oh, I thought so-and-so was doing it, but they thought you were doing it. In my opinion, that's the most common problem is things slipping through the cracks. So it's our whole team communicates through Slack. Every property we have gets its own Slack channel. Everyone is very aware of their role on our team. And so all important communication about a certain project is only made in that Slack channel for everyone to see. So it's the accumulation of that type of thing, transparency and efficiency.
Got it. So just basically you're attributing just the communication as well as the structure is what's helping you guys out the most. And I guess with everybody in obviously you and Tracy and underneath you guys as well, how do you set expectations without, I guess, ruffling feathers, right?
Well, there's a book I think you'd like a lot. I asked Pace similar questions, I don't know. I asked him, I'm hey, I'm at a stage where I realize in order for me to not plateau, but to continue upward is I need to learn leadership. I actually need to study leadership. Mm-hmm. And there's a book, I think it's right there. It's called 5 Levels of Leadership by John Maxwell. And he has a variety of books, but that one is the one specifically that Pace was read this. Mm-hmm. And so it helps a lot because of what you just asked. It's essentially the only way that someone would get ruffled is if you're a level 1 leader, and that's because you're a leader only because someone gave you that title. Level 2, though, is relationship based. People, you have relationships with everyone you work with. You know them, and so you're able to communicate with them in a dynamic that isn't ruffling. Level 3 is people see you as a leader based on they see you do things, you're producing. And so as soon as you're out of level 1 and it's relationship, production, and then, 4 and 5 aren't as applicable at the moment, but those are the 2 that help a lot is that foundational relationship with the people. So one guy on our team, I'm 33. I've known him since I was 14. A lot of the people that we work with, we've already known for at least a couple of years.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, Pace was actually just in a meeting just before we spoke here. He was talking about how he's got new reach and they handle a lot of things for sub 2, but they look at everything make all the check marks and make sure we got the right emails being sent out and blah, blah, blah. And he was but the thing that they weren't good at was the relationship part of things. And he brought that to it. He didn't want to sell courses or teach people or anything like that. He just wanted to build relationships and network with people. And I think that's one of the main reasons why everybody loves him. And we've got over 16,000 people in too, is because we don't just feel like he's this guru. It's another one of our friends, and then with us being an owners club, it's even more so because, we have direct access to Pace. We get to see him a couple times a year. And it's where do you get that much love from somebody where he even knows people, first and last name, knows about their family, the babies they had and everything else. You don't see that from anyone else. And that's what a real leader is somebody that cares and they lead forward versus behind. Let me think. You got me thinking deeper here. So just so everyone knows, the style of these podcasts is I don't like scripts, right? So, I mean, Dustin, I didn't send you a bunch of questions to ask you in the beginning, right?
Yeah, no, it's just improv. That's how I do mine. I have a general idea. I keep it co-living focused, and then I like to just go with the flow. Yeah, anything that we want to dive more in. I can't say the biggest, most influential person on our team. We have two, but the order that we got him is our operator. As I mentioned, her name is Emily. She basically was a TC that I've wholesaled many, many deals with. And then we were like, hey, can you also do XYZ? And, you know, she kind of just evolved into our operator. The reason we asked her to is she's the type of person where if you ask her to do something, she goes all out. Like she's just amazing. And so that's how we landed our operator. Technically, it wasn't even really through the operator program that they offer in Owners Club. We just kind of saw what they were doing, and we found we already had the TC we really enjoyed. And we're like, hey, you want to try this out? And yeah, it's worked well.
Nice, man. Yeah. And I guess obviously the role of the operator is to just lighten the load for you, right? And take care of a lot of responsibilities. But for anybody listening, maybe someone newer to sub 2 or just business in general, when you say operator, like, what do you mean by that? Like, how do they help you out, in your day to day?
In short, we call her the boss. Anyone that we work with, whether it's, partners on our team, like marketing or project manager, anyone like that, they never report to Tracy Kaipo or I. They go to Emily and we're like, she's the boss. I don't know. She's the boss. Any outside, so when we're buying land on our new construction, she's the one that's typically communicating with them. Essentially, she's the focal point where all the information comes together, and she really has the best idea of what's happening in the business at any moment, more than we do.
So
Tracy
basically,
and I,
you guys are HR and she's the general manager.
when it's done right, we're only marketing, like whether it's podcasts like this or in 9 minutes, I have that investor call. Like Tracy and I, our highest and best use is a blend of one-to-one marketing or just, meeting people, networking, and then one-to-many marketing. And so the more that we can only focus on that, and then Emily takes everything else, and then, people help her as well, the more we all prosper. Emily is the boss. Everyone goes to her.
Yeah, that's actually funny you say that, because that's the next part of my business plan is once I have my social media manager, everything's set there, so I don't have to worry about my social. The next part is getting an operator to come in, and then me just focusing on networking and stuff, because for me personally, I am extremely outgoing and I can be at every meeting and every event and stuff like that. Amazing at sales. And me building a business, I have no business doing it. Everyone has to do it, just because if you don't, how's it going to get started? But for me, I'm happiest when I'm out there talk, kind of like Pace. I like being in front of people. I love doing things like this, meeting with people, networking. And is there anything that you want to share with anybody that's listening to this, maybe about yourself, maybe something to help them? I know you've actually got a fund going right now. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And
in short, we're prepping to teach the next co-living semesters. It starts on the 27th. So this one's called Co-living Semesters 201, Theory to Practice. Anyone that wants to learn about co-living in general, whether they're in sub 2 or outside of sub 2, I have a ton on YouTube. I'm making it even more focused moving forward, where it's been a lot of co-living, but now I'm like collecting data, like interviewing very purposeful people within the co-living umbrella. So I encourage anyone to just check that out. There's a lot of good interview style, and I'm asking very specific questions. We do have a free Facebook group where it's free ebook, calculator for underwriting, that kind of stuff. And then, like you mentioned, we are raising capital for a current deal. We have about 200K raised. We're raising 375. That's for another 10-bed, 10-bath in Houston. And then, the easiest way to contact me is Instagram at Dustin_Geroski.
Okay. And if anybody wants to check out like your semester and stuff you're saying, or maybe see some more of your content and things, like where else could they reach out to you? Or maybe if they want to fund one of your deals, you said that you just ran a fractional. Do you have anything else going on somebody can invest with you?
Yeah, so a lot of the raises we do are through fractional. We'll rotate occasionally we just don't even use fractional. We'll just tackle it with like 5 investors. The easiest way is Instagram. And then anyone that is familiar with fractional, we do have like co-living semesters. That's our community on fractional. But yeah, on Instagram though, I have like my website, buydealsdustin.com. And so anyone that goes to it, you'll see there's plenty of free resources. And then it shows like the Facebook group, or if you want to partner with us, invest on a deal, one of those links in there as well.
Perfect, man. Okay. And then I know you have mentioned you did your first semesters and you're doing this other one. Is this a revamp of the first one, or is it more like a continuation?
Yeah, so it's definitely a continuation. So the first was like laying the foundation. This next one, it's actually going to be 9 weeks, and it's going to be very, very thorough deep dive case studies. 9 weeks. The first week's going to be like intro, recap. Weeks 2 and 3, we're going to be going over just one property that we've purchased and just doing a ton of analysis at first and then Q&A. And then, weeks 4 and 5, same thing, but another property. Weeks, so 3 case studies, and then we're doing 1 or 2 bonus where it's all about lending, because it is delicate. Like the last case study is going to be one of our new construction, and so we wanted to do an extra Q&A on everything possible about like how do you get the hard money to do new construction, how do you refi into a DSCR, that kind of stuff.
Awesome, man. Okay. Yeah, I think this was an amazing episode. Definitely one of my best guests. I tell that to everybody, but no, I'm just joking. What I'd like to do is I definitely want to connect with you because you're in the same areas as me. I've got tons of leads coming in from bird dogs. They're already under contract. So I think that would probably work out. Maybe I can send you some deals too if you're taking on deals. If not, that's fine as well. If you're just sticking to the new construction only. If anybody wants to reach out to him, I'm going to post the links in the comments and the description. And until the next one, make sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, do everything you do with social media, and take care.
You're now tuned in to the Off Market Mindset, where real estate gets real.